Case number 16075. 83 DYSART LLC, George Lane manager, for finding to demolish the pre-existing non-conforming garage and use commercial purposes and to replace it with two-unit residential structures. Is the applicant a representative here?
Yes.
Counsel?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. William Fair on behalf of George and David Lane, who are present at that. First of all, I wanted to thank the board for continuing this matter and thank Councilor Barry Cole for having a neighborhood meeting and the neighbors that attended the neighborhood meeting and spoke at the applicant meeting last week. We tried to get together. There was some talk if we had adjusted the location of the building that there might be less opposition. We had the neighborhood meeting, but it really turned out that I think the neighbors, for the most part, although very nice and congenial, weren't really supportive of anything being built on the spot. So let me give you a little background on the lot and kind of let the board know what it is we're trying to do. The lot is currently non-conforming in two ways. One, there's a big oversized garage in the rear right up against the lot line that was previously used in commercial capacity. I'm not sure how long ago, could have been more than 2 years ago, but nonetheless it's non-conforming in terms of its location as well. The existing single-family structure that's actually attached to another single-family structure is right up against the lot line on the right side of the lot and is 10 feet within the front. So that's non-conforming. What we're proposing to do is not touch that property at all, that single-family structure, tear down the pre-existing non-conforming garage, which is really an eyesore from the perspective. The lot is currently completely paved with no green space on it whatsoever. I know a lot of neighbors used to park, if they were allowed to, park on the property occasionally when it snowed out, and they may be losing some of that parking, but nonetheless it's private property. And in place of the garage on the side, and like you probably have your packages, but let's see, this is the garage currently, and this is the front. And we're proposing to build along the side of the property 2 residential units, side by side, with 1 parking space underneath. The lot size is 10,609 square feet, so the lot size is sufficient to have 3 units on the site. And this particular structure comports with the zoning, residential B zoning, in every way. It has the setbacks, the front, rear, and side setbacks that are proper. It has the floor area ratio along with the single-family residence that's currently there, totaling less than 0.4 of the entire lot, which is complying. It has the green space necessary. It will be improved. Actually, the lot will be improved with professional landscaping and really be an improvement. Now, I talked with a number of the neighbors, and you know, I know that some of them had suggested, hey, just build a single-family home there, and it won't be an issue. But the fact of the matter is, this is a lot that is in a residential B zone, and it's surrounded by multi-family residences. It's of sufficient size to have 3 residences. That's what the zoning allows for. The finding, you know, the finding really just has to show that it's not more substantially detrimental to the neighborhood. In constructing a structure that comports with the zoning in every way, and tearing down one that does not, I would suggest is certainly not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood. I know parking is an issue. We actually have 3 parking spaces per unit, and there's only a requirement for 2 parking spaces per residential unit in the residential B zone. So I respectfully request that the board make that finding, and be happy to answer any questions that the board might have that either I or my client, Mr. Lane, could answer.
Counsel, I'm reading this, there's 9 parking spaces on that property?
That's correct.
Oh.
2 under each of the new units, and then 7 additional spaces, all in the rear. The front of the lot will be beautified with landscaping, and the new structure will meet the front setbacks of 25 feet.
What I'm reading here is you have landscaping out front, on the front street, that corner of the lot, and the back over here, is that correct?
That's correct. By the way, there was some discrepancy as to the frontage. Originally, we had thought it was only 73 feet of frontage, but there is in fact 79.5 feet of frontage. So there's sufficient frontage to meet the requirements.
You'll be anything about that.
No, so there's no variance necessary, and we're not increasing any nonconformity at all. Actually, we're improving the nonconforming nature of the lot.
The square footage of the building you're tearing down, what is it?
Oh, that's a good question. I think it's significant. I'm not sure. George, do you remember what the square footage of the
I
garage
know
is?
the whole garage, I don't know how big is it, probably about 4,000, more or less.
Yeah, it's a very large structure. Goes almost the entire length of the rear lot line, and it's actually on the lot line in the rear and on the side.
3,108 square feet.
3,108 square feet. Single story garage.
It's according to the assessor's office.
I would amend the application to, I know it said 73 feet on the application. I'd ask that be amended to 79 feet of frontage, 79.58 feet of frontage.
I don't have any questions at this time.
Any questions?
I have one question. You had a neighborhood meeting,
Yes.
and was there opposition, and was there a response
Well,
to the opposition in terms of?
We met with some of the
modifying
neighbors,
design
and
or
most of them are here after the meeting last time when we continued it. It was unclear to me whether I would need a finding at all, but I spoke with the building inspector, and he said that we would, because the single-family residence that's already there is not conforming, would remain non-conforming. So we suggested that we might be amenable to building the structure in the rear of the existing single-family house, more in line to where the garage sits now, but smaller in footprint and up 3 stories. Because a couple of the neighbors thought that would be a better location for it. So we were certainly amenable to that, and we've actually had some plans prepared that showed the structure being moved. In fairness, some of the neighbors, I'm not sure would have been agreeable to that either. So then we had the neighborhood meeting Saturday, and one of the neighbors to the left, that lives to the left of the house, would have rather the building be constructed right where we had originally proposed, because it would have affected his sunlight in the rear. So I think, depending upon where you live in the neighborhood, I think the location of the actual building, and if we had built it in the rear, like we were considering doing, it would have been non-conforming in terms of the rear setback at the end of the day. So we wanted to make sure that whatever we did propose, since it wasn't going to get a consensus of the neighborhood, was going to be conforming, and that's why we kept it as is, and we're presenting it as is.
Thank you.
No question.
Mr. Reno, any questions?
Why is this a finding and not a variance?
Same lot. 2 homes.
Same lot, but the lot, if we were looking at this as a one single structure, we'd be looking at it as a variance?
No.
It needs a finding.
Yeah,
The structure
taking
itself.
down non-conforming, you're putting another one in where there's a single residence
See,
on the same lot.
it appears to me, counsel, you can tell me if I'm wrong, the proposed building really wouldn't mean anything. It's just the fact that the existing
Because it's pre-existing
is
non-conforming.
right on top of the lot line, that's not
So because that's non-conforming, the lot considered non-conforming, so we don't need to vary any side setback, and none of that is complacent. It's just completely consistent. I don't have any questions.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you.
Does anyone like to speak in favor? Speak in favor, first call, second call. Third call that part of the hearing closed. I have a letter here, correspondence from the DPW.
which I shall read. We have reviewed the submittal of the above referenced project, and our comments are as follows. 1, specify how much impervious area will be increased due to the development. 2, develop plans showing the layout of utility, grading, drainage, and the construction details. 3, explain how the surface runoff will be discharged and treated. 4, install survey stone or concrete monuments to delineate the public right-of-way. The monuments shall be set by a professional land surveyor. 5, provide dimensions and grades for the paving area and all driveway entrances. 6, repair all utility trenches with infrared heat. 7, confirm house numbers with engineering department. 8, upon completion of the project, as-built plans showing all utilities, building footprints, reference bounds, and benchmarks. Define the total site, facilities, and right-of-way need to be submitted along with a digital file. The as-built plan shall be stamped and signed by a professional land surveyor or professional engineer. For information required.
Is there anyone opposed or undecided? Please step forward when we line up right here, if you could, one at a time, come up front. Name and address, please.
I'm Ann Doyle, and I live at 77 DYSART Street.
You got it.
Chairman Aikens and board members, I thank you for the opportunity to seek clarification on a few things related to the request for a finding at 83 DYSART Street. The purpose of the zoning, from what I read, zoning codes include 1, to lessen congestion in the streets, 2, to prevent overcrowding of land, and 3, to avoid undue concentration of population. Allowing for the construction of a 2-unit residential structure at 83 DYSART Street will not help in meeting these objectives of the zoning code. The notice of public hearing indicated that this application for a finding violates Chapter 3.4.2 non-conforming uses and Chapter 3.4.3 non-conforming structures. The building described as a pre-existing non-conforming garage used for commercial purposes has not been used for commercial purposes in over 40 years. Building Code 3.4.6 states that a non-conforming use or structure which has been abandoned or not used for a period of 2 years shall lose its protected status and be subject to all of the provisions of the ordinance. So saying that the garage is used for commercial purposes is not currently true. Presently, the garage is set back and does not bother the neighborhood. Adding a 2-unit residential structure to the space will be substantially more detrimental than the existing non-conforming use to the neighborhood. The parking area is just that, a parking area. It is not detrimental to the neighborhood at all. Adding a 2-unit residential structure to the space will be substantially more detrimental than the existing non-conforming structure to the neighborhood. In reading the dimensional form, the present use occupancy is listed as R3 and U. I was unable to find these codes listed, so I'm wondering if you can tell me their meaning. I called Quincy Inspectional Services and was told by one of the building inspectors for the city that he had never heard of these codes. So I'm just wondering what they are, if someone could tell me that. And then presently, people are renting what is considered a single family, but really more closely resembles one side of a duplex. I had a question about the width of the lot, but Councilor Phelan addressed that. This application includes many things that were, when we were here in January, were not looked upon favorably. Namely, it's another 2-unit, but has increased in size and number of bedrooms. It has a shared driveway and was said in January, cars will end up on the street. Chairman Aikens, you specifically said when you allowed the previous applicant to withdraw without prejudice, and thanks to John, I can quote, "Counselor, I'm going to give you an opportunity to give to other people to withdraw this without prejudice, so long as you come back with a completely different proposal." This is not a completely different proposal. The only thing that has changed are the applicants. You went on further to clarify what that means is that they can't come back with another 2-family. They can come back with a completely different proposal. They can't come back with what they just showed you. I actually have it queued up on YouTube if anyone wants me to play it for you, but that is a quote. So I'm really not understanding why we're here again. I have a signed petition from 44 residents, mostly on the street, asking that this finding not be approved. And I also have some pictures related to the current parking situation. The application says there's 2 parking spots, and you could easily fit like 15 cars in the space without any problem. So I have that, like to submit that. Like I said, I have the signatures of all the people on the, or a lot of the people on the street. And then parking setbacks are also listed as not applicable, and I just wondered about that because I thought they had to be a certain distance from building space. And I'd also disagree with Councilor Phelan that the neighbors are opposed to any building. Last January, the proposal of an idea of a single family came out, and that was suggested on Saturday, and obviously not well taken. And in saying that the building is surrounded by multifamilies, the 3 houses across the street, so 76, 82, and 86 DYSART are all single families, and the other house presently at 83 is considered a single family. So there are 4 single families in that space. 82. 76, 82, and 86. Yeah. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
My name is Gregory Doyle. My house is at 30 Madison Avenue, and I don't believe that they even have the right to file an application with you. Because if you read section 346 of the code, it says, a non-conforming use or structure which has been abandoned or not used for a period of 2 years shall lose its protected status and be subject to all of the provisions of the ordinance. The ordinance is the zoning ordinance. They do not comply with it, okay? So they shouldn't even be filing with you because they lost the 2-year limit. It's been over 50 years since they have used that property. Not only that, but they lied on their
I
application.
don't understand that statement.
What do you mean you don't understand? What do you not understand?
What I don't understand is, we have a structure that's here.
Yeah.
The use might have been lost, but the structure remains.
Yes, and what does it say in the ordinance? 2 years, it doesn't matter the structure or the use.
Does that mean-
Read the ordinance.
Does that mean the structure has to stay there forever?
No, let them tear it down if they want it.
That's what they're suggesting.
No, they want to replace it with a 2-unit building, which is a violation of the zoning code. Because once you lose that status, they have no right whatsoever to file for you to have a finding. They've lost that. 2 years, 50 years has passed. And it's not only that, but they have lied on their application. You think that's a good idea?
How will they lie?
Read the numbers.
Okay, no more
I'll
debate.
tell you what the numbers are, okay? Right here, on your dimensional form, ratio of total floor area to lot area. They put it down as 0.45. Well, you know what it is? It's 0.6047. That's a violation of the ordinance. It only allows 0.4. They then talk about the building height of the garage as being 3 feet 10. It's not. The minimum lot area per dwelling unit, they list that as 10,000. Where did they come up with that number? That's the lot area, not the per unit. Can they read? And when they do their requested building conditions, it's 0.7868, not 0.44, because they conveniently neglect to add in the existing piece of property there, which is again a violation of the law. Because the floor area ratio includes every building on the lot, not the new one. And that's what they have used for the calculation. So they violated that as well. So there's 3 violations right there in their application. So I don't see how you can make a finding on something that's a violation. I think that's about it, gentlemen.
Thank you.
I know Dominic Olympia, 86 DYSART. I live across the street. I just want to say to Mr. Phelan that we all agreed to a single-family home. We never said, I want something down here. I live across the street. Mr. Phelan's correct. I mean, it's a tarred lot. But I just think that a two-family with 3 bedrooms is just excessive, you know, for pretty much a profit situation where we would totally agree with that, you know. So parking is an issue for us, even without this. So technically, there could be another 10 cars. My friends and neighbors did their homework. They gave me one of these facts. I'm confused why it was rejected, a similar proposal in January, and then we're coming back with almost the exact same thing. If I was Colleen, I would have asked you, what would it take for me to get this thing done? Now all of a sudden it's getting done? You know, we are all for construction. We are all for improvements. We've all improved our property since we've been there, and we want you to improve your land. But we just think that the two-family with 3 bedrooms is just excessive. That's what I just think. Thank you.
Laura Jo Larissy, 93 DYSART, actually 95 DYSART Street. I want to go through a few facts in the nature of the streets for folks that may not know. DYSART's a narrow, very narrow one-way street. Parking is only permitted on the right side of the street. It consists of both single and multifamily homes. Most, if not all, multifamily residents park on the street and have to compete for limited spaces that are only permitted on the right side of the road. Parked cars line the street every night. During the winter, due to the cars parked on the right side of the narrow street, snow plows are only able to plow the left side of the street. This creates a burden for those that reside on the right side of the street and are forced to remove the snow on the street in front of their house, mine included. To make matters worse, residents of multifamily homes on surrounding streets park on DYSART and then they walk across the street to their homes. I've witnessed this specifically on Scannell Street several times. I've been a resident of DYSART for 17 years and have had to deal with the burden of snow removal due to the congested street parking. Both the current owner and builder do not reside on the street, therefore neither of them can dismiss the issues the current residents are facing regarding parking, especially snow removal. With this proposal, one could estimate approximately 6 to 12 cars be at the premises, which will further exacerbate these issues. Lastly, at the first city meeting to hear Colleen Giacomosi's proposal that was rejected, I believe it was Mr. Akins that closed the meeting requesting a new proposal be made that did not include a new two-family dwelling at 80 DYSART. Therefore, I strongly oppose this proposal and request it be rejected. I, however, welcome a single-family dwelling with sufficient parking at the present premises. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Linda Larissy, Laura Jo's sister and tenant. I live at 95 DYSART Street, 2 houses away from this lot. I knew Kathy, and she was colorful, to put it nicely. Her lot, I wish she had done more with whoever inherited it, but she didn't. And a single family is fine, but a 2-family with 6 bedrooms, 38 feet high, not only does it cast a big shadow with the only way the sun comes through, but parking is an issue, and now we have construction coming on the street tomorrow in front of Kathy's house and my next door neighbor's house for 2 days, and we don't know why. It says road work. I know that Marty Akins is more than well accomplished on reading the blueprint, so anything that they're trying to propose, he will understand. The parking is a big issue, because if they say they have a shared driveway, and as soon as the first person pulls in, the other 3 spots are blocked. We all have shared driveways on the street. I've knocked on the doors, please pull in your driveway, it's gonna snow tomorrow. They never do. And then I shovel my snow in front of their house and they look at me and I'm like, I gave you the chance, where am I supposed to put it? So as soon as that first person pulls in to that shared driveway on this new lot that they're proposing, those spots are no longer available. Parking is a big issue. So we welcome a single family home that's not 38 feet high. You know, we want, you know, the garage is not an eyesore. You know, people that, the guy that's renting the house now, people across the street, they would all love to buy this house. They would all love to rent out a bay in this garage and use it. One for fitting carpentry, the other guy just to work on his car. So to say it's an unusable garage, it's not. People are gnawing at the bit to get in there. People have been gnawing at the bit to park in Kathy's lot. There's a lot more that can be done with it. The guy that's trying to build this now put that big condo down the end of our street, and it's just a big ugly eyesore, I think, you know? I welcome new development. I'm an electrician. You know, I work in construction, but this is just too much. I've been here 17 years, and I want to stay here. But if I get forced out by condos and no parking and not being able to talk to my neighbors, I'm going to leave. And I don't want to do that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Anyone else?
Hi, I'm Margaret Matrangelo. I live at 82 DYSART Street, homeowner. And I more or less have the same concerns that my neighbors have. We have major, major parking problems. We have people from the end of the street parking up in front of our houses. When it snows, we have one small lane down the street on my side because cars are parked in the street. Snow emergency is not carried out. They park in the street. So if you have a two-family with 3 bedrooms in each unit, you're talking a potential of 6 people in that house because we see it every day. We have 2 families that were sold in our house, and 4 floors are being used. We have people living on 4 floors. So we're not talking about maybe 6 people from those houses. We're talking a potential of 10 people. You have the single unit next to it with 3 cars, 2 SUVs and a big truck. We're not talking little sedans now, we're talking about SUVs and trucks. And you're gonna have 9 spaces with a potential of 15 people living in that small area. Whether it's subdivided or you consider it one lot, that's semantics. You're talking about the same amount of space in that small area. We have a wonderful community, and I think that's the charm of Quincy, these residential areas. We don't need major condominiums on our street. We have halfway houses and everything that have been put on our street. We've adjusted. So those are my issues, and I totally agree. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name's Rick Carmichael, I live at 55 DYSART Street. I'll just keep it short and sweet. We had a meeting a year ago. We were told, don't come back with a plan on this. It's a single family. We want to keep the neighborhood as a small community-style neighborhood, and I'm just dead opposed against it. That's all I got to say.
Anyone else?
My name is Luis Casal. I live at 92 DYSART Street since 1969. I am very familiar with the area there. And the problem that we have in there with the parking. The parking is a problem in there. I explained to Mr. Phelan last Saturday in the meeting in there. He said that he's going to put 9 spaces. When you put 9 spaces, there are now 2 families. Another 2 coming are 4 families. I know that one of them has a bay on the other side. But anyways, when they put those spaces in there in the winter, when the snow comes, there's no way to push the snow. And I asked him if somebody's going to have a truck in there to haul it away, which is not possible to do. So the problem that we have now, even in the winters, the last winter, the city used to come with the front loaders, and there's no place in the street to put the snow. They used to haul it and dump it in their parking lot, which is a private way, but they have no place to put it. They used to put it in there. Now there is no place to put. So my opinion, speaking for myself, is it's a nice piece of land. Something should be done with it. I think a 1-family house will be a nice thing to do in there. 2-family is going to create a big problem in there. So that's my opinion. Thank you very much.
Excuse me, I'd like to note that Lewis is the one that plows us, our neighbors, in that lot and the houses on the street.
Well, I used to plow for the lady because she wasn't there. When we moved in there in '69, she couldn't do anything, so we have the truck. So we always plow the parking lot for her, And every Christmas, I used to have a bottle of scotch.
I just have one question, gentlemen. Who is supposed to check these things before they are sent out to the public? Because I want to write the mayor a letter about it.
DPW does that,
Is it the building
Mr.
department?
Farmer, building inspector, this Farmer.
The building department typically checks that.
Okay. So they should be checking the numbers in the application before you people do get it.
We'll check everything before we get it.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. For anyone else, opposed or undecided? Second call? Third call, followed by the hearing closed. Hey, Counselor, you want to speak?
Sure.
Thank
you, Thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Chairman. Members of the board, I know that you're always faced with situations and circumstances to make decisions based on the information that you have in front of you. I've been doing this job long enough to, I think, back up the statement that I'm about to say, which is I don't think there is anybody that knows a neighborhood better or a street better or an individual area better than the folks that live there. I don't think there's another elected official that knows an area, knows a street, knows a particular situation better than a ward council. And I've been doing this long enough where I feel like I have enough data to back that up. Council Phelan had mentioned we had another dialogue. This was part 3 of 3. So we've had 3 neighborhood meetings. This is our third, maybe quasi-third appearance before the board. And I really commend the residents who, again, I believe that they got the pulse of what's going on in the street for sticking together, because that's 6 sequences and coming to 3 neighborhood meetings and 3 proposed hearings before you, because this is the type of stuff that matters as somebody who already lives in a neighborhood. Ian Doyle has been very good in terms of like the technical stuff, so I don't want to reiterate everything. I think you feel the general sentiment as it relates to the technicalities. And I want to commend the applicant who has been very, very cooperative and is a nice gentleman as well. But I think what we're looking at here, as I see it anyways, is a similar project that has been consistently proposed, and the only thing changing, and I heard Ann say it, has been the applicant. And we, I mean, meaning you and me and everyone else who kind of serves in this capacity, have an opportunity to work together and to move the city forward and develop a pattern of what I would like to refer to as responsible growth. And I know that there's certain areas that can maintain larger dwellings, and there's certain areas that can't. I think that what happens, at least in my opinion, is you kind of look at this thing from a macro perspective, is these little one-offs, these projects that take place in neighborhoods, and you heard all the concerns voiced here this evening by the neighborhood. These are the things that potentially have unintended consequences that make challenging situations that currently exist on streets worse. And I think that's kind of what the dialogue has been. Is this the appropriate density? I've heard loud and clear, because that's who I represent, as the people that elect me to do their bidding before zoning board, etc. And I don't want to assume, but if I was to assume, I would assume that you believe that I'm a reasonable guy that shows up consistently at these zoning board hearings and planning board hearings and really tries to engage people on the back end in a dialogue with an applicant, with a developer, to come up with a best fit solution for fill-in-the-blank project. I feel that we've had so much dialogue around this project, and you've heard the sentiment here this evening. These folks aren't saying no development. I mean, look at the size of the lot. I'm not a developer, but it's a good sized lot. What they're saying is, board members, can you please find it to work with us and come up with something that's on a smaller scale, i.e. a single family home. In my opinion, I'm not taking the risk to do the development, but I would have to think that the economics of a single family will allow for a, noticeable reward on the other end, while helping the current residents, the current taxpayers, to maintain a level of stability in the neighborhood. To me, that sounds like a pretty good dialogue that has resulted in a negotiation, which I feel they've brought to you this evening, which, I don't want to get into the semantics of what was said at the prior board hearings. It's all public record, you know that. But I stood here, a year ago, like everyone else, and, the appetite that I had heard then, to the current applicant was, we're not interested in the layout, we're not interested in the shared driveway concept, but we would entertain something on a small scale with a single-family layout. So, again, these are, people's investments, these are people's neighborhoods, I represent these people, and I really, 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 when we believe that when we get down to this idea about responsible growth, I think that the folks are being very reasonable with suggesting a single family. I'm not telling anybody how they should, or suggesting how you should view this, but I've been here, 6 different sequences up to last Saturday morning when it was about 15 degrees out, huddled around, freezing our tails off, trying to come up with a solution. And I really believe that, that would best reflect what would fit in that neighborhood as a single family. So I would encourage you not to support the application as it stands, but really to offer an opportunity for a single family. As always, I appreciate your engagement in the civic process, so thank you.
Thank you, Council.
Mr. Chairman, do I have a chance to respond to the issues?
You want to say something, go ahead, Council.
But I'll just be very brief. And Councilor asked the question, is this the appropriate density? And the answer is yes. It's residential B zone. It's over 10,000 square feet. And the zoning of the city allows 3,000 square feet of land per residential unit. So this is, and in terms of the parking is built, there's more parking per unit on this lot, not shared parking, by the way, not stacked parking, individual parking spaces, than probably 90% of the homes on DYSART Street. I understand there's issues with snow plowing, with parking, with a number of things on DYSART Street, but they're not made worse by this project in any way. The project that's being proposed complies with the zoning code, and it's demolishing a building that does not comply with the zoning code. And we're not asking for a variance like the last applicant did when there was an attempt to subdivide the property, build a structure so that it could be sold separately. It's one lot, and it's actually improving the non-conforming nature and complying with the zoning more than it was before this project would be done. So, although I feel for the traffic, the parking, this project certainly doesn't make it worse, and the density is right for a project of this kind. And I apologize for implying that the neighbors didn't want anything. I meant to say didn't want multiple residents on the site, and I misspoke. Thank you.
Chairman, can I ask a question?
Sure, go ahead.
Council, when did your client purchase the lot? When did he have it?
When did you buy it?
August?
Were you aware that it was in front of us prior to?
The timing when closing, I think, yeah.
They made you aware that it had been in
And
front of the board?
I know that then they have to, they've been rejected by the GPA.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right at the closing of the
So prior to signing though, but he was made it aware? Okay.
And point of clarity.
And by the way, I don't believe it was rejected. I think it was.
It was just withdrawn. Yeah, we withdrew. Yeah.
It was withdrawn. Go ahead, Council.
Just, and then I'll wrap up, but just from a respect to an individual, trying to make an investment, which I understand, right? He bears the risk, he bears the reward. It's capitalism. as purists, I did reach out to Mr. Lang, as I do with most other folks that are entertaining, developments that have a negative history or a negative stigma from the residential folks that already live there, to inform him, like, this has already happened. So you probably want to know that this project may be a little bit different according to Councilor Phelan, because they were asking for a variance. However, a similar proposal had appeared before the board. And I just try to extend that courtesy, to folks at large, and really in a quest to maximize everyone's time.
Thank you, Council.
I would like to say something.
Well, I think it's time for us to deliberate, so, parties spoke.
The
Ms.
councilor
Kane,
said that it was appropriate.
You're out of order, brother, please. Let us
He
finish.
lied.
Let us finish. Let us finish, please. If this was, and I really thought this was a 2-bedroom unit each, not 3 bedrooms. So personally, I'm not in favor of it because that is almost the exact thing that came in front of me the last time. If you took out the parking in the bottom and made them two, I wouldn't mind a 2-family there as long as it's shrunk. If there was 2 bedrooms each, I would be in favor. If there was no parking underneath and the parking's above, and just shrink that. You can have a lot of problems. 3 bedrooms is a lot of problems. It's just a lot of problems. You put a 5-bedroom house there, you're gonna have the same thing probably, but in people's mind, it's a lot different. 2 2-bedroom apartments is not a big deal for that lot. And there's plenty of parking. And rip down that, give these people a sign and bring that top of that building back down. I would be in favor. So the neighborhood goes along 38 feet, you took them out. I mean, we haven't caught up
Well,
with
it's
this.
35
In California,
35.
right, but California, we haven't caught up. There's laws that are good for the son. You can't take away my son. And people do that every day here, which, it's crazy. It's just, there should be laws for that here. That you just can't take away all my son. When I got a house on the side, it's gonna be, and it's happened many a project. I voted no one that did get approved, that just happened to be the one. And you see what happens, that their land turns to trash is what happens. It's mold all over the back of the house, and it's sad. It's
The
real sad.
applicant would go to 2.
I'm just saying,
He'd
this
do that.
project, I'm not gonna be in favor of. If there was, that building was shrunk, and there was 2 bedrooms each, there's parking for everybody, that's that fits in that neighborhood. That don't fit, I think it's way too big, that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's rather large too. This is a very interesting lot, I think.
It is interesting.
And I think there could be another way of doing it. That maybe it could be entertained to do something else. But that being said, I guess I'll be voting no on this.
Any comments?
Just want to confirm the height of the building. I've heard a few different numbers tonight.
No, it's 35 feet high, which is complying with the zone, with the zone for that.
Yeah, we're not for variance to above 35.
No, and
I thought I heard different numbers.
yeah, no, it's 35. Somebody suggested it was 38, but it's 35. And the floor area ratio does comply. And if it didn't, the building permit, I'm sure, wouldn't be issued based on the finding that the board would make. Notwithstanding, the 2 members who spoke before, the applicant has suggested that he would go to 2-bedroom units, 2 2-bedroom units, if that would be something that the board would entertain. But I don't want to interrupt the deliberations.
I would agree with the chairman that I think a smaller development here would be appropriate. And they would take down a little bit to 2 bedrooms. I think that it's a very dynamic case and it's a very unusual lot. And what you're planning to do does make some improvements to this lot. At the same time, I'm mindful of the fact that it's a tight street and it's a dense area, but there has to be some way, some middle ground. So that's what I would be in favor.
I'm conflicted as well. It looks like it's an improvement for the project, but it's universally opposed by the neighbors, which I would find distressing to vote against. Having said that, though, you're right, a smaller project on property would certainly enhance this lot. It's an interesting lot, it's a different size lot, but not this project.
I got a few thoughts. I think, one, it would be concerning as a board for us to see a very similar project to what we have seen in the past, which we asked somebody to withdraw. I think that's setting a dangerous precedent to, choose favorites. And I don't see that as what we do up here. I see as what we do up here is extremely valid, and it's extremely pertinent to the character of neighborhoods. And we, as much as sometimes we get our heads kicked in, I think we pay a lot of attention to neighborhoods and development and people and projects, and I think we take careful consideration. And I would be distressed if we looked at a project differently just because of a different person. That being said, I also think it's a little bit of semantics and a little disingenuous, and this is something I'll bring up with the building department, in that the variance in finding, because we're going to split a lot as opposed to have two different dwelling units on a single lot. I think that might be something maybe the council has to address in the zoning code, as to if just because we're adding an additional dwelling unit to a property, it shouldn't be looked at differently as it would if had we split the lot. That's just my, I would urge us to probably consider that going down the road. That being said, I wouldn't be in favor of this project as it stands today.
Counsel?
Well, if the board would consider a smaller scale, two-family unit, I know my client would be willing to go back to his architects and see what he can come up with.
I really think we'd like to see a new set of plans before we even go into that, what it is, how big these bedrooms are, how big the building is. You know, this is for me. Shrink the building a little bit, that gives you another spot, an extra parking spot or two. Shrink it down, of course, take the parking out on this, and now you just got 2 stories with a roof, and 2 bedrooms each. They're gonna be smaller units, but if he wants 2 units, I think they'll fit there, smaller units, real small units. Saying that, we'll let you withdraw without prejudice, and you can reapply with a different set of plans.
Thank you.
Can I have a motion to withdraw without
Last
prejudice,
January,
please?
that's what was submitted. It was a smaller unit, it was 2 bedrooms.
That's not what this is.
The thing that was submitted last January was smaller.
Well, we'll look at it.
Mr. Chairman, matter number 16-075, 83 Dyson Street, LLC, George Lang, manager, for a finding to demolish a pre-existing non-conforming garage used for commercial purposes and replace it with a 2-unit residential structure on the premises number 83 Dyson Street. And please have a motion to withdraw the case without prejudice.
Second.
On the motion, seeing none, all in favor? Opposed, so moved. Take 5 minutes.
Were all of my names written? Because it's 44
They're all on the
pages
record,
signed.
yes, they are.
Have it here.